What's up, guys? Look homeless. Gonna go ahead and get this one out of the way. This one's probably gonna be a doozy. Let's see. New project. Excuse me. Yep. Happy Mother's Day to you out there, if you're a good mom. All right. Create this. And now I'll get back in here. Shirley, what's up, Liz? What up, Jazzy Jeff? Aw, see him on a much generic message. Jazzy J in the house. Liz in the house. I sent Happy Mother's Day, love y'all in the group text, and I put this thing on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter last night. I kept having trouble. Why is this? Is it buffering out there for y'all? YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming as such viewers will experience. Buffering. What does that even mean? I don't know what I can do differently. The stream strength is strong on my OBS here. Yep. So yeah, I'm doing you guys a solid by doing this after I've just woke up. I literally just woke up maybe less than an hour ago. It was pouring ass rain. Like, it was bad. A lot of thunder, a lot of lightning. It's bike week in Myrtle Beach. For those of you in the area. Yeah, that's weird. I think I might not have been in that one. But, yeah, I saw that happened to Jamie the other day, too. Yeah, anybody in the area knows that it always rains during bike week. But, I mean, it was thundering so loud at like 9 or 10 o'clock that I woke up pretty early. I went back to bed, of course. But I had that thought where I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get up and go ahead and get this house cleaned up so I can start making all this spaghetti that I have purchased and have not done. I love the rain too. It's so good. I get the best sleep. Whenever it's raining. Okay, let's see here. I'm gonna go ahead and get this over here, move that there, and yep, I'm gonna go ahead and start getting some content for you here. All right. So, I have seen a lot of folks on the interwebs posting Happy Mother's Day messages, and the Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there stuff. I've seen that a lot, and I am going to wish a Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there who have chosen to be a good mother and who have chosen to be a part of their child's life throughout their lives. And I'm not going to go so broad as to say, hey, Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, because If you guys have not, I know I have a lot of new subscribers, a lot of new listeners now than I did last year. So you guys might not be as privy to my mom situation than other people. Let me get this in here. I need to share this out. I forgot to do that. Yeah, you can probably hear the thunder outside. Yeah, but you guys might not be as privy to my mom's situation, and so I'm going to take the time today to explain that. Let me go ahead and post that there. Hold on a second. Right now, talking about Mother's Day. Sorry, I should have done all this before I went live on the audio, but we'll be fine. So yeah, shared that. I won't share it on the podcast page. I've been sort of neglecting that podcast page and just been using my personal page because the podcast people. Or the podcast page doesn't have as much people following it as my page does, and I want to get to the highest amount of people as I can. So anyway, to catch you guys up who do not know, I do not have a relationship with my birth mother. And this is because when I was a child, she left me and my dad and for a guy that she was having an affair with, who ended up being a good guy in the end, who ended up like he did nothing different. Excuse me, he did nothing different than any other man would in his situation. So I was very, very, very lucky to actually have him to be a part of my life. I learned a lot from him, and he was a good guy in the end, and by the end of this podcast, you guys will know, the basically the whole story. So, when I was 2 years old, my mom was having an affair on my dad, and got caught, and ended up leaving, and I was stuck with my grandparents, living with my grandparents. And you know what I have in my room? I'm a big guy. I'm a big dude, and I definitely gold bond and baby powder it up. So I've got this spot in my room that's just like I'm as soon as I get done with this, that's my MO is to get that corner cleaned up where there's just baby powder dust all over the place. So every morning when I wake up, just feels like I've been doing cocaine all night, because I've been laying in a room that's like just basically a corner of it is caked in fucking just baby powder and gold bond powder. So yeah, got the sniffles a little bit. Anyway, I was stuck living with my grandparents, and I say stuck because at that time I didn't have a choice, obviously. So my mom, one of the first things that she did in my life was leave me. And even before then, my Aunt Marie, excuse me, and my grandmother, baby powder corner. That's exactly what it is, Liz. Even then, my Aunt Marie and my grandmother were doing most of the raising. Like to this day, in those early years, I count my grandma, my granny, and my Aunt Marie as my mom. Like, they were the ones who really raised me. So, and for a lot of you guys have listened to the podcast in the past, you've heard me talk about my Aunt Marie before, and you knew how I felt about her and how she was everything to me. But she was the one who took all of the raising duties. Like, when I was a baby, I was always with her. She was always the one who was carrying me around with her, hanging out with her friends, and she neglected a lot of her own childhood for me. She was 13 when I was born, and she had just gotten her license when my mom had left. So like I was always with her. She had this little geo tracker. Goodness, I'm sorry. I'm not. This podcast is sponsored by clearing the throat. Yes, we do it. Yes, we do, Liz. Love it, Marie. This podcast is sponsored by Things in the Throat. Hey yo, there you go. Anyway, so yes, my grandmother, my Aunt Marie, was basically in charge of raising me at this time. My dad was running the business, and not only that, he was young too. You know, he was a young guy, and he hadn't quite got to. My dad turned his life around at a certain point in my life, and started you know being responsible about things, and that was during my lifetime that happened. So I'm very proud of him and all the progress that he made during those years, especially just, you know, being left by somebody who you had a child with can't have been, get your phlegm here. Yeah, that's right, Liz. But no, he can't be blamed for this. You know, he had just been left, and a lot of people would have reacted the same way that he did. And, just so inevitably I ended up living with my grandparents and my dad. And after my dad and my stepmom got together, who were still together, and I love my stepmom, but we're also going to go into that before the end of this show. So when he and my stepmom met, my stepmom had a daughter who was 3 years younger than me, and we basically grew up together, and he always tried to get me to live with them, but all of my life I had lived with my grandmother. So it's like you tell a child, a baby, basically. I was still a baby. I was like, 3 or 4? And whenever you try to get a baby to go somewhere different than they have spent most of their life, that's not going to work so well. So my dad, doing what he thought was right, let me stay with my grandparents. And I called my granny mama for the first few years of my life, until I think my mom got mad about me doing that, my actual mom, and she asked me not to do it anymore. And so I started calling her mama, started calling granny, and I realized that just as a child, because my dad was always around, my uncle was always around, my Aunt Marie was always there, everybody called granny mama. So I just thought that was her name, I guess, and I called her that, and that's how I always referred to her. Anyway, my mom used to always get weekends. She would pick me up from school on Wednesdays, and we would spend Wednesday. Her parents lived in the same town that I lived in. Sorry, I'm going to keep clearing my throat all day, I'm sure. I've been doing a lot of gigs this week, and my voice isn't quite right. You guys have probably listened to me a lot. Will notice that my voice isn't as sprightly as it normally is. But anyway, so Mom had Wednesdays. She'd pick me up from school, and we would go to her parents' house, and I would hang out with my grandparents, who my granddad is still alive, and I never talked to him because the only time I ever saw him was, and honestly, I don't remember seeing him a lot even then. I just remember being a kid, and we would always leave when he got home. Like, he would always, when he got off work, he would go to the ice house in Bennettsville, and literally the ice house. It was like just a place that sold ice. Thank you, Liz. I'm glad you don't care. Good. But he would go to the ice house in Bennettsville and with a bottle of Crown and just sit there and drink with those guys. And then he would come home, and he would have like whatever's left in the Crown bottle. And from what I could gather, he drank a bottle of Crown a day, like a fifth of Crown a day. And whenever he would get home, me and my mom would always leave. She'd drop me off at my house, my granny's house. And I saw my grandparents on my mom's side maybe, once a week. And sometimes my mom wouldn't even pick me up. And I would be a little disappointed because she would always like take me to Pizza Hut and give me a little personal pan pizza. And then we'd go to Finkley's and we'd get rent a movie. And then we'd go and watch the movie at my grandmother's house. And then she would take me back home after my pa got home. And I never really spent a lot of time with him, so I mean, and I don't really feel bad about not staying in contact because I lived in the same town as the guy. How's it going, Abby? Big hugs. Happy Mother's Day to you guys, by the way. But yes, I ended up not ever really having much of a relationship with my granddad, who's still living. So I don't feel bad about not being a part of his life or him not being a part of mine. So my mom, like I said, on Wednesdays would pick me up, and then she had the weekend, so I would go stay with my mom on the weekends. But it got to the point to where my mom would call me, and my mom would say, okay, I'm going to pick you up on Friday. And I would get my clothes together. I would get my bag together, or my granny would get my bag together and get my clothes and everything packed up to where I could go stay with my mom. And I would go and literally sit by the door and wait for her to show up, and like go sit outside. Maybe she can't see me. Maybe if I go sit outside, and then I'd go sit outside on the porch or like on the front porch steps with my bag, like literally just like you see in the movies. And my stepmom actually reminded me of this a few years ago. I'd forgotten about it. But she told me, she said it used to break my heart to see you sitting out there on those steps waiting on her to show up, and she never show up. And this happened a few times. And then later in the night, like later on, it would be like obviously well after dark, where I'm like waiting, and maybe she'll show up, maybe she'll still come and get me. And she'd never show up. She'd call later, and then my grandmother would like, okay, well, here, talk to him. Here he is. He's still up waiting for you. Just tell him what's going on. I'm not going to be able to come get you today. I'm not going to be able to pick you up. And then I would like, I don't know how I would react or whatever. But, yeah. But, you don't want to go home tonight, do you? But no, I'd get to the point where just be sitting out there and just waiting on her, and she wouldn't show up sometimes. And after a few years of like meeting people, you don't want to know, the woman I'm talking about right now is right here in the chat. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm telling a story about you right now. Worst person I've ever known in my life. But you want to hear a story about you? You want me to talk about you? Listen to this shit. So I sat there and I'd wait for her to show up, and no, don't the hell out of her, Abby. That's my mom. That's the woman I'm talking about right now. She wants me to talk to her, and she, after all this shit, you want me to talk to you? Or is you serious? Fuck. So I would sit there, wait for you to show up, and you never did. And then you expect me to like still like try to carry on a relationship with you, and I haven't even gotten to the good shit yet. This is just stuff that you do to a child who knows nothing about anything. And I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what was going on at this time. You've done all you know to talk to me, all you know to do to talk to me. You know what? I love everybody in this world. Every single person in this world. I love everybody. But you, I do not. They're all lies. Jesus Christ. They're all lies, she says. For those of you not watching in real time, my actual mom, the bitch that I'm talking about right now, and I'm sorry, forgive me, I forgive me, but that's what you are. And you haven't given me any reason in my life to think that you're anything less than that, so forgive me. But she's telling me that all these things are lies. They're not lies when I remember how the shit went. I remember as a kid, like, you not showing up whenever I wanted you to show up. You weren't a part of my life at all whenever I needed whenever I needed that position to be filled. You weren't there. And then the only time you were there was after I got in the accident where I almost died, and then ended up coming into all of this money that I was going to be getting. You didn't give a shit about me until all of the money showed up. You did not give a shit about me until then. And then whenever you got the money, you didn't care. Then when you got the money, you didn't care. You fucking stole all of my stepdad's pain medication, took all of his pain medication, had affairs on him while he was in the hospital dying of cancer, and you want me to fucking have a relationship with you and talk to you? You telling me that all this shit that people saying are lies? You're the liar. And you're the one that told me that you would never lie to me. You're the one that told me when I was a kid, I'm your mother, I will never lie to you. And that is the biggest fucking lie you could ever tell to anybody. Somebody who is supposed to trust everything that their mom says. I was a kid and I didn't know any better. But anyway, I would sit on the porch and wait for her to show up. She wouldn't show up. She would call later with all these excuses on why she couldn't be there and why she wasn't there. And then I would end up trying to, whatever. I always wanted to be around her because I just was obsessed with the idea of that. I would go to, and unfortunately, I didn't get it until later on in my life, until I was way later on in my life, when I realized that my stepmom was actually a very good person. And just, I don't know if any of you have ever had any situations with step parents, but just step parents are always a real sticky situation. It's tough to like come around, to come around on them, and it's tough to have them feel a certain way, or it's tough to feel love for them, because it's like, who are you? You're trying to replace this other person in my life. I love my mom. You're not my mom. And I was such a dick to my stepmom for a really long time, and I feel bad about that. But anyway, I didn't see it then that my stepmom was actually, trying to build this relationship with me and trying to fill that void of the mom that I didn't have, who had every opportunity to be there for me when I was a kid, but chose not to. And being a mom is not something, Liz, you probably know this better than anybody. Being a mom is not something that you can just turn on and off, when you feel like doing it and when you don't. It's not like a fucking a flea market stand that you can just show up to whenever you feel like doing it. That's an analogy my dad gave the other day. He was like, man, you ought to go get you something in a flea market stand. Let's see, my mom was at her best. My friends were nearby. We were sick. Grandma took care of life short. Mom's words. You can't trust anyone, not even your own mom. You know what, Abby? I hate that you went through that, but I definitely feel your pain. Like, step parents can be a blessing, 100%, Liz. And I was blessed with great step parents. I really was. Like, my stepdad taught me a lot. He taught me a lot of stuff. And yeah, exactly. Your bonus mom is amazing. 100%. That's what a step parent is. It's a bonus mom, 100%. But either way, just I had going back to something that I said at the very beginning, like, I'm not going to sit here and wish all mothers a happy Mother's Day, because all mothers don't deserve to get a happy Mother's Day. Some mothers are just shit. Mine is. My mom is a piece of shit. She truly is, and it kills me to know that she is a part of me, or that I'm a part of her. Oh, Jesus Christ. Can we get her out of here, please? But yeah, just my mom is a piece of shit. And it's not, that's nothing that's ever going to change. She's had every opportunity as a kid to be there for me and wasn't. And like I said, I still haven't gotten to the good stuff yet. Still haven't gotten to the good part. I get to still try to please mine. Crazy this. Oh, 100%, Abby. You could, and you know what? That's actually the good part that I'm getting to. It's crazy that you can be the little girl looking for her approval, even as an adult, or even as an adolescent or teenager or whatever. Yeah, this is not it. You're right. But and by the way, if you're still listening, we will look at me. Look at my eyes. We will never speak face to face again, ever. You don't deserve that. You see this? You see how fucking serious I am? We will never speak face to face. You do not deserve that. So anyway, she had every opportunity as a child, she had every opportunity when I was a child to be there for me when I actually needed her. And then Liz, you listened to the episode the other day where I fell off the back of my Aunt Marie's car, and which was not her fault, it was my fault. I fell off the back of the car and got the blood clot inside my brain. And then all of a sudden, my mom was there. All of a sudden, it was she was there. She wanted to have something to do with me. She started showing up on Wednesdays. She started picking me up on the weekends. And then me and my stepdad's son, my stepbrother Alan, who may be watching as well. Yeah, right. I don't know. She needs to understand how I feel about this situation, and that she has no place in my life. I have no room in my life for her anymore. Like she has voided that, you know, that subscription has been canceled permanently. So 100% it is the truth. It is my truth. So that being said, after the accident, and after there was going to be all this insurance money involved, it ends up being that she puts the idea in my head. Well, you know that sometimes people give your stepdad a lot of money, and he goes and buys used cars with and you'll understand more of that later, Abby. You'll see she I'm sure that she probably was believing that I was best with my grandparents, but I don't think that had anything to do with her taking my well-being into account. I think it was just more convenient for her at that point. Like, I don't think that she was bright enough to put together that it would be good for me to be with my grandparents. I don't think she gave a shit. I think that she was just making it convenient for herself. So after all of this happens and she realizes that there's probably going to be some insurance money, she puts a bug in my ear. People give your stepdad money all the time to buy used cars with, and he makes them a lot of money. So that's a real good investment opportunity for you if you ever, whenever you get the money. You might can give it to him, and he can buy used cars with it. So we get to the point to where I'm 10 years old now. The accident happened when I was 8. I'm 10 years old now, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to live here anymore. I was a bad kid. I was living with my grandparents still. I was a bad kid. And I obviously, who wouldn't be a bad kid? You know, the first person in my life that's supposed to, you know, be there for me and care for me left at a very early age. So if that don't make anybody rebel, I don't know what will. So I was a rebel. I was a bad kid. And I was just, you know, I don't want to live here anymore. I hate y'all. I don't want, and I would say that I hate you. I would say that all the time. Like, I hate you to my family, to my grandmother, my granny who raised me, to my dad, to probably Aunt Marie. And I was just so mean. And I would just say such negative things to them when I was a kid. And I would say most of these things to them because they, like, would try to tell me, like, I don't know. They would try to tell me, like, whenever I would get mad at them because my mom wouldn't come pick me up, you know, and I would take it out on them because my mom wouldn't be there for me. So after a few years of this, I was like, I want to go live with my mom. So I said, I want to go do that. At 10 years old, I decided to go live with my mom because my stepbrother was there. I'd always wanted a brother, and my stepdad had a son. So I wanted to go be with my stepbrother. Honestly, I didn't really give a shit about my mom. I kind of just wanted to be with my stepbrother because, I mean, we were basically best friends. And I wanted a brother to hang out with. So anyway, I lived with her. I moved in with her and my stepdad, my stepbrother, and we stayed in this single wide trailer. And then a couple years later, we moved into this bigger trailer, and then a few years later, we moved into an even bigger trailer. And this was from 10 years old. I was in 6th grade, and I failed the 6th grade, and then I did 6th grade twice, and then I went to 7th grade with my mom, so I stayed with her for 3 years, and I failed every year that I went to school there. I failed every single year. So 6th grade twice and 7th grade. In the 7th grade, they couldn't hold me back because of my test scores, but I also did go to this summer school program. So I went there, and they said they couldn't hold. Well, the second time, I didn't go to summer school in the 6th grade. They passed me in the 6th grade the second time because of test scores. In the 7th grade, I went to summer school, and I got to where got to the 8th grade, and I decided, you know what, I do want to move back home. I want to go live with my grandmother again. I want to move back home to where I live because it was home for the majority of my life. Yeah, at 10, Abby. At 10. That's when you can make big life decisions, right? And so I wanted to move back home to my grandmother. I ended up doing that, and I stayed there for 8th grade, 9th grade. And then, again, I was like, okay, well, y'all going to make me, y'all give me rules. My grandmother and them, they gave me rules. They gave me guidelines and things like, you can't do this, you can't do this. And a child needs that. A child needs that you can't do this, you shouldn't do this. So I did that and stayed with them for a little while and was like, okay, I don't want these rules no more. By this time, I was getting a little older, and I kind of wanted to party and things like that, and I couldn't do that, live with my grandmother. So I decided to go back and live with my mom, hang out with my brother some more. And me and my brother would party a lot. Not a lot, but I mean, we would party. And me and him hung out all the time with him and his friends. They had this thing called the cruise line in Dillon, South Carolina, where we would go and like drive around. Like people, you guys probably remember when gas prices weren't so bad, people would just meet up at a certain spot in town and just drive in a circle. They would just drive up and down the road, you know, just back and forth. And it was called the cruise line, and that's what we did. We would hang out and do shit like that. And I would go months or weeks without even trying to contact anybody from my dad's side of the family, like, because I'm very out of sight, out of mind, and I don't mean that. Yeah, you can't give up. It is not fair. You're right about that, Liz. And then good on you for doing that, for stepping up and being that person. So, anyway, yeah. So we would do that and hang out, and I thought that everything was going good. So I was getting to the point where, getting a little older, I enjoyed partying. I enjoyed living that life. So I was staying with my mom. At this point, I was kind of back and forth between the two, and I was back and forth between the two, between my grandma's house and my mom's house, basically, for a few years there. And when I finally, the last time I switched schools back, the school that I went to when I was staying with my mom told me that I had been expelled and I couldn't ever go back there again. I could never enroll in that school again. So that answered that question. So I went back to the Christian school in Bennettsville and ended up being there until I turned 18 years old. And when I turned 18, I got all the money out of the insurance settlement that I was supposed to be getting. And once I got all the money, my mom was sitting there with me. My mom took me to the bank to get the money, and she took me to the bank to get the check written to me for $96,000. And she was sitting next to me when I got it, and that's all she gave a shit about. All she wanted was the money. And if you're still in here, you know that's the fucking truth. And if you try to tell me that's a lie, I've built an entire life on being one of the most honest people that I fucking know. And yeah, there's no lies in that at all. That's all she gave a shit about was the money. So that's right. Everybody does need a Kool-Aid house, Abby. Safe home number 2. But yeah. So once she realized that there was going to be money involved, that's all she gave a shit about. And then I ended up giving my stepdad a check for $50,000. For $50,000. And $50,000 isn't a fuckload of money, but that's a lot of money. And the deal was that for $50,000, I invest in their business. I basically say, here's $50,000. Buy cars with this money. For the cars that come through the yard, I get $100 off of every car that comes through the yard because y'all are using my money. Now, at this point, I basically own this system or this business. I had bought this business, and I started seeing, after a while, the money was good, but after a while, I started seeing cars come and go through the yard. Like, this car was here, and it was used car business. It was used cars, so it would buy a mattress. You're right. Fuck no. Speaking of mattress, I gotta get this mattress paid off. I gotta pay $300 a month through December on this damn thing. It's gonna end up costing me like $3,000 before it's all over with. But anyway, I ended up getting the money, and I kept $46,000 for myself, and I gave my stepdad $50,000, and started seeing these cars come through the yard that I wasn't getting paid money for. I was like, well, this car's gone and this car's gone. Where's my $200? And my mom would say something like, oh, well, we didn't use your money for that. I'm like, you didn't use my money for that. Well, where's my money? Well, then give me my money back. If you're done using my money, then you just give me my money back, because I don't know if you understand how investments work, but I give you this money, you can use this money, and you pay me the agreement, you pay me the money that we had agreed on, and then, whenever you're done using my money, you give me my money back, because my money was supposed to be used for you guys to build up your funds. So I'm basically just trying to help them get completely like self-sustained, and then I'm getting my money back. So whenever I asked her, I was like, well, okay, if you guys don't need my money anymore, then give it back, because I need it. It's my money. And that was an issue. That was a problem. And that's where that's where I started seeing who she really was then. When all this stuff started happening, that's when I noticed who she really was. And I was foolish to think that anything else was going on, but she ended up getting a fucking boob job. She got a motorcycle. Her and my stepdad both had motorcycles at this point, and they were just, a lot of things started showing up that were, a lot of things just started changing. You know, money started showing, like the old saying, you can't hide money. Well, they had gotten a check for $50,000, and granted, now don't anybody think that I'm talking about. Don't even think about I'm not saying anything negative about my stepdad. My mom was a very manipulative person. She is the most manipulative person I've ever known in my life, and she manipulated my stepdad into all of these things that I'm telling you guys about. So he had nothing. I just, and some of you guys might hear some of the things that I'm saying where I'm speaking negatively about him. I am not. I know my mom. I know how manipulative she is, and I'm not falling for her shit. So anyway, she ended up spending all this money, and a few years later, I'm like, you know what? Just fuck it. I guess this money's gone. I'll just figure out another way to get through it, because my mom manipulates me into saying like, oh, you know, no, this I didn't use your money for that. We didn't use your money for that. We used money that we made off of that. And I was like, well, in all actuality, if you don't still have all of my money, then the money that you made is also my money. I'm sorry, but that's the deal that we made. That was the deal that we struck up. I still get my money back. So after I realized that, okay, there's no way I'm going to get my money back. The only way I'll ever get my money back out of that is if I take out a life insurance policy on her and just wait it out until she dies. And I know that's a horrible thing to say, and a lot of people get the stomach turns thinking about their mom, or if they could say something like that about their mom. And I realize my situation is not like most others. So forgive me if that makes you shudder to think about that at all. But I'm sorry, my situation is different. So after I realized I'm just not getting my money back, fuck it, doesn't matter. So I decide I'm going to move to the beach. I moved to Myrtle Beach, and I've been down here for a while, and I didn't really talk to my mom a lot. She would, every now and again, she would send me like a box of like food or something like that, like pantry shit every now and again. And it had gotten back to where it was kind of close to normal. And then I started noticing that like just shit was getting different. My brother Alan had a kid, and him and his wife were doing really well. They were raising the kid, and my nephew absolutely adored my mom. Like, she was his world. She was like, it seemed like, here's the redemption. You didn't get it right with me. You have every opportunity to get it right with my nephew. You didn't get it right with me. You fucked it up on my end. You really screwed up. And if you're still here watching, you really screwed up with me. And you had every opportunity to redeem yourself with my nephew. You had every opportunity to redeem yourself with him. And you guys notice I say had. So my stepdad had gotten sick. He ended up going into the hospital, and during the entire time, and this happened a couple times. The last time he went to the hospital, they found cancer. And I'm pretty sure that it was prostate cancer or maybe colon cancer, but it was not a good cancer. And I don't think any cancer is good, but this one was a particularly bad cancer. And even before that, before I first started noticing that all my money that I had given them was gone and that she had blown through all of my money, my stepdad went into the hospital when I was still living back home. And every night we would still go out to eat, like Ruby Tuesdays, Outback, you name a chain restaurant. We would do that every single night. And my stepdad was the only one in the family who could actually make money. And he was in the hospital for like a month or two. And she blew through all of the money that he had saved over the course of the month. My stepdad knew what the deal was and was just literally trying to build his own bankroll so that I could get my money back. And he was trying to help me out. And all she would do was just be blowing through the money while he was sitting in the hospital unable to go work. And this was all before I moved to the beach. After I moved to the beach and my stepdad ended up going back to the hospital, and my grandmother died away. My mom's mom passed away shortly, not long before my stepdad ended up getting sick. And I remember my mom going back and forth to Columbia, where my grandmother was in the hospital. And mind you, these were my grandparents that I saw on holidays, and we lived 3 miles away from each other, and I saw them on holidays. If that makes any, if that explains a little more. So, I noticed when, like, after my stepdad got sick and came back home, he called me and was asking me questions about my mom. Like, have you talked to her? Have she said anything to you about something that she's been doing or whatever, or anything like that? And I was like, no, I don't ever talk to her. And he was like, well, she's been doing this. She's been she's been doing this thing, and I can't find any of my medication. I can't find any of my pills. So what my mom had been doing was taking my stepdad's prescription pills from like his pain medication, and he's sitting here at home literally with cancer without anything to take for it. And like, he's literally calling me, asking me for advice. And I was like, he's telling me that he's heard rumors, like his brother, my stepdad's brother, lives across the street, literally across the street from the house that they stayed in. And his nephew, my stepdad's nephew, lives basically right behind their house. So they said that they had seen my mom go into the house with somebody who wasn't my stepdad, and said that they had caught her. My brother and my sister-in-law had caught her. Like having Facebook Messenger conversations with a guy who worked at a pharmacy in Walmart in Dillon. And like just basically have an online relationship with this person. And all the while, mind you, when I talk to my mom, when I confront my mom about this, she does what any child would do. Oh, they're lying. They're lying. They're just lying on me, which is what a child would do. And unfortunately for her, I know the kind of person that she is. So I knew before I even said anything to her that they weren't lying. I knew it wasn't a lie, because I know who she is and I know how she works. She got to the point to where my dad wasn't doing it for her, and she started hooking up with my stepdad. And then she got to the point where my stepdad wasn't doing it for her, and she started hooking up with everybody else. And that's just how she is. She doesn't care about anybody else in her life except for her. She doesn't give a shit. Just even in the chat a while ago, I wanted to talk to you face to face, blah 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 bullshit. Just because she doesn't want anybody, she wants to maintain her own reputation, that like the reputation she has in her mind. She wants to maintain that, and there's no way to do that because her actions. She's so, and I forgive me, I don't try not to talk too much shit about people, but she deserves it. She's so dumb that she thinks that she can salvage her reputation after all that she's done. And I'm sorry, God might forgive you to no end, but I can't do that. And I know that the Bible tells me that I'm supposed to forgive people as I want to be forgiven. And I'm fine with that, but I'm not going to forgive her. I will treat everybody else in my life. Everybody else in my life gets that. I will forgive you to no end. And that can be, you know what? Case in point. Case in point, and I don't want to bring up old shit, and he might be watching now, but me and Smitty in my band have had fights, and shit has been said that cannot be erased. And you know what? I've put that to the side. Like after we would get in fights about shit about music. And I would say something about like, oh, well, that's not the way the story went, of how, this thing went or whatever. And we would get in fights about that, and he would say something below the belt, and I'm sorry to air this out, bro, but just I'm using it as an analogy. I love you, but just he would say something negative about my personal life and attack my personal life in ways that I was like, we would be talking about something that was totally unrelated to personal life. And he would attack my personal life, and I got really offended by that, and it fucking hurt my feelings, and just shit was said that can't be unsaid. But I've forgiven him for that because I'm supposed to, because that's what I've been commissioned to do. I'm supposed to forgive people so that forgive people the way that I want to be forgiven for things that I've done. But I've told him. She is the only person in my life that's outside of that law. She's outside of that. She doesn't deserve it. She doesn't deserve my forgiveness, nor will she ever get it. I will, and a lot of people, you don't need to hold a grudge. They're unhealthy. Don't hold this grudge. I can't help it. I'm sorry, but I can't fucking help it. There's nothing I can do about it. Maybe one day, but I believe that she will be dead and gone long before that day arrives. So. So I can't forgive her for what she did. I can't forgive her for the fact that she cheated on my dad with my stepdad. And granted, don't like I said, don't think negatively of my stepdad. But it's a lot, so much, and I appreciate your kind words. I see you there. I'm not a very smart cookie in certain aspects, but I feel like every now and again I might get lucky on one. But it is a lot of hurt, and it's something that can't be reversed. It can't be undone. And knowing that she never changed. She showed me that she never changed because she did the same thing to my stepdad that she did to my dad. And both of them were good men. Both of them, God rest my stepdad's soul. He passed away not long after the cancer got him. And God rest his soul. He was a good man to me. And to me and my brother, he was a good man. And my dad is a great man. My dad's the best man I've ever known, and he truly is. He's kind, and he's firm when he needs to be, but he's got a good heart, and he loves like no other. He truly does. But she not only left me when I was a child and wanted her around and loved her, but she chose to make decisions that caused her. Thank you so much, Abby. I really appreciate it. She made decisions that resulted in her leaving my nephew when he adored her. She was his entire world. He loved her. And I was prepared to forgive her for everything that she had done to me. And you guys have heard all the things that she has done to me on up to this point, because I love my nephew and he deserved to have somebody like that in his life. Somebody that she was to him. He deserved to have that kind of person in his life. And because she made decisions that caused her to not be around him again, and then to leave him just like she left me, led me to believe that she was a person who could not and would never change. So that was the point where I decided, you know what? I will never speak to you again. If you try to contact me again, and I told her this, and I tell her this still to this day, I don't feel the same way I did back then. I was drunk then. I went down. I managed Uncle Tito's down here in the inlet, and I was still managing it back then. And I used to go down there in the middle of the night and just shoot pool. I would go down there and just unlock the door or lock the door and shoot pool all night long. I used to do that a lot. But this one night, my mom was keep trying to get in touch with me. I don't know why you won't speak to me. I don't know why you won't talk to me. I don't know why blah, blah, blah. I don't know why you won't. Same shit she's pulling today. I don't know why you won't. Because it's not my fault. It's because I'm obviously not wrong. Fucking moron. But I explained to her everything that I wanted to say to her. I told her, I said, and I was drunk as shit. I sat down with a bottle of Wild Turkey 101, and I probably drank an entire bottle of Wild Turkey 101, and I could do it, by the way. I was a fucking pro alcoholic. I could drink a bottle of 100 proof anything and drive you home successfully. I was a fucking pro. And I drank probably a bottle of Wild Turkey and told her that she had no... Exactly, they do deserve that, Abby. And my nephew deserved that. He deserved every bit of that she had to offer him. He deserved to have that sort of a positive energy in his life. And she deprived him of that, just like she deprived me of that. And the reason that pissed me off so bad was because I know how bad it mentally fucked me up to have been subjected to all of her negativity all of my life. And I did not want to wish that on anybody else. Now, granted, he was young, and I think that he even told my stepdad before he died, because I actually had a better relationship with my stepdad there at the end than I ever had with my mom. And we talked all the time. He would call me all the time, and we would talk. He was the greatest mechanic I've ever known. Like, I could describe to him something that was going wrong with my truck, and he'd be like, "Oh, well, you got to do this." And like, he was right every time. He was never wrong about that. And he was a good man. And he said that he was talking to my nephew, little AJ, and AJ said to him, he said, "Papa, did she hurt you?" And he said, yeah, she did. And he said, AJ said, well, I don't want her. He said, I don't want her to be around us anymore. And he was probably 4. He was probably 3 or 4 when this happened. And him having the heart to go, "Did she hurt Papa? Did she hurt you?" And my stepdad being honest, and yeah, she did. And he said, "Well, I don't want her around us anymore." Like, that's such a grown up thing to say for a child, for basically a baby. He was a kid. He was a baby at this point. He was 3 or 4 years old. And 100%. 100%. There's definitely some brain damage, and it's 100% like that. And my nephew said, well, we don't want her around us anymore because she hurt you. And I told my stepdad, I said, man, I don't want to be. And my stepdad would call me crying, and he was like, what did I do? What did I do to deserve this? And I was like, you didn't do anything. She's just a toxic person. And I said, that's the same way. That's the same way that she was. That's the same way that she was whenever you two got together, when she stepped out on my dad. And I said, some people just don't change. I said, and I wanted to think that she could change because she had that moment of redemption. She had that moment of redemption to be able to undo. And I was willing to put aside all of this negative shit that I've explained to y'all. I was willing to put all of that aside because she seemed like she was doing everything the right way with my nephew. Like she was giving him the love and attention as a child that a child needed from a grandparent that I didn't get from her as a mother. And I was willing to sacrifice all of the negative shit that I went through for my nephew so that he would not have to feel the same way that I felt about the same woman. But today he does. I'm sure he does feel the same way about her. He probably doesn't have any use for her. He probably, and I'm not trying to speak for him, but he did not deserve what she put him through. And nor did I. I did not deserve what she put me through. And I saw all of this happening all over again, which for all of the positivity that I was willing to give her for righting a wrong that she had done, for righting a wrong that she had wronged me, but she was going to right my nephew, that she was going to give him the love and attention that he deserved, that I didn't get. And I was willing to, yes, exactly. It showed me that she was capable of it. And 100%, you're right, Liz. We all wanted to believe in our moms. We all want to, and I wanted to. Like, I wanted to believe that, okay, she was just a child when she neglected me. Now she is an adult. Now she is grown. She knows better, and maybe I've been too rough on her. And I thought that. But then she ends up leaving him as well. And now she leaves him to the point to where he, as a 4-year-old or 4 or 5-year-old, he was very young when this happened. And even as a young child, where he can notice that did she hurt you to to his grandpa, to my stepdad? So just the point that a young child, a baby, noticed that somebody had hurt my stepdad that bad. What kind of person is capable of that? A toxic person that you don't need in your life. Liz, I don't know whether it was you or Abby that said this, or somebody else. Might have been Eve or somebody else in the chat. One of the other fantastic moms out there, and happy Mother's Day to all of you fantastic moms out there again. I'm very, very glad to have you guys be a part of this family that we have here on the YouTube. But I don't know which one of you guys said it was, but you guys validated that, yes, no matter who this person is in your life, if they're a toxic person, you have to expel that from your life. You have to do that. You have to you have to let that go. You have to get that shit out of your life. And you have to you can't let that negativity fester. You can't let that negativity have or take control of your life. You can't do that. It won't do any. That way only lies madness. And I lost my mind a little bit. I went a little crazy after all of this stuff, and then just the thought. Oh, and by the way, I when I was talking earlier about calling my mom and or not calling her, but telling her everything I had to say, she kept texting me. I really just want to talk to you. I can't. Now I don't know how you could do this to your mother. I don't know how you could ever do this to me. I'm your mother. I deserve better than this. So I finally got up with her and was like, listen, you think you deserve better than this? Well, let me tell you what I deserved. I deserved all of this. And I told her, I said, I called her a bitch. I called her a whore, a slut. I called her every name under the sun that I still agree with calling her all those things, because she is all of those things. And forgive me for saying that. I apologize to y'all for me admitting that I said all these things to my mom. I'll apologize to everybody except for her, because she deserves it. She deserved all of those things that I said to her. She deserved every ounce of it. And I do not care anymore what happens to her, or don't care about her. Yeah, exactly, right. 100%. But I told her all of those things, and I told her, and she had a beautiful singing voice, and I told her that the one thing that I was probably most proud of myself had been my singing voice, and that I had inherited some of that from her. And I hated the fact that one of the things that I did best was something that I had inherited from her. And I told her how bad I hated that. And I've tried to expel her. I've tried to do that. I really wish that there were a way that I could block someone from my life, like I can block them on Facebook or on my phone. And yeah, I mean, and she probably is crying herself silly right now. And unfortunately, she has had every right to undo all of these things that I'm saying, and she has not done that. She has not utilized it. It's just, and I know that a lot of folks are hearing me say this, thinking of their children, and playing this in their head, like my child is saying these things about me. But I don't know a better way to stress this to you guys who are out there being good moms. This is not how normal people feel. And after I get done with this story in a second, I'm going to tell you guys about my stepmom, and somebody who actually did it right and did the right things. And when I gave her every reason to do the wrong thing. But that's the thing. My mom, the reason that she hasn't been around is because when I was drunk and I was telling her all of this shit that I felt about her, I told her if she ever tried to contact me personally, if she ever tried to meet up with me face to face, if she ever tried to show up randomly unannounced and throw me off, that I would kill myself if she ever did that. And I said if she had any kind of love for me at all, and she wanted me to live, that she would stay the fuck away from me, because I would kill myself if I ever had her show up and unannounced. If she ever showed up unannounced, that I would kill myself. And you know what? I'm not gonna do that. I've already, and at that point I was very suicidal. I was alcoholic. I wanted to die every day. I wanted a reason to do it. I really did. I wanted a reason to do it. And I don't feel that way anymore. I don't feel like I'm going to kill myself ever. I will never do that. I've decided to see this thing through to the end, and I will never do that. But I told her that at that point, because I was that pissed off at her. I was so pissed off at her, and I still am, obviously. I just don't care anymore. I don't care what happens to her. Whenever I get, and do not think, it would probably be best if you guys didn't plug your children into this analogy, because this will really wrench your heart. But absolutely, this is like a harbinger of what can happen if a mother fucks up. But the day that I get the call or the text that my mom is no longer part of this world, I will probably go out to a fancy restaurant and eat a steak on that day every year for the rest of my life, celebrating the fact that she is no longer part of this world, because she does not deserve to be. And forgive me, I know that's really harsh to say. I know that's a really bad thing to say, but I am not completely mentally stable because of this woman, and she has fucked up my life, for lack of a better term. For the most part, she has really fucked up my life for a very long time. But I just, once I get that message, once I get that call that she is no longer part of this world, then I will 100%. Then I can sleep peacefully at night. Then I can sleep peacefully knowing that nobody else in the world can ever be hurt by her. She can't hurt anybody else anymore. Like she hurt me, like she hurt my nephew, like she hurt my stepdad and my stepbrother and my sister-in-law and my stepdad's entire family, who saw right through her shit. And I know that they did. They saw right through her shit, but they gave my stepdad a pass because he loved her. And she's literally been given everything in life that good people deserve, and she shit all over it. 100%. She shit all over it. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, we do. And I'm sorry that your childhood issues were similar, Abby. I hate that, and it's not. I know it's not normal for people to have these thoughts about their mom. I know it's not normal for people to have that sort of negativity against somebody who carried them in their body for 9 months. But how can somebody who carries a child in their belly for 9 months do all the things that this woman did? How can you do that? And that's what really bothers me. And the main thing that I am bothered by in this whole situation is that she is my mom, that I am part of her, that she is part of me, which means that whatever that negativity, whatever that chaos that's in her is also in me a little bit, which is probably another reason why I don't try to pursue a relationship, because I just fear that been there and came out of the other side, stand near the doorway and duck a lot. I hear you. But yeah, I fear that I will have some of those tendencies that she has, and that I haven't noticed them yet, and that somebody else will be subject to that she will have vicariously through me hurt somebody else, and I can't stand that thought. I fucking hate that thought. I don't want to think it at all. But I can't not think that. But I told her, and I don't want to be contacted. I don't want any contact with her. I want to live out the rest of my days without ever seeing her face or hearing her voice again, ever. I don't ever want to see a message from her. I don't want to hear anything she has to say. I don't want to hear her explanation. I don't care. I don't care about her explanation. I don't care what she has to say. It doesn't matter to me anymore. She is no one. She doesn't exist. She is a part of she only lives in that box that I have her in my mind. And one day, that box isn't going to be there anymore. And I cannot fucking wait until that day comes, because she doesn't deserve it. She's a horrible person who does not deserve anything good in her life. And I hope and pray for the rest of my days, multiple times a week, I pray, and I know that this is bad, and God might be very disappointed in me for doing this, but I pray that she gets everything that she deserves in life. I pray that she gets, that she reaps what she sows. And if, you know what? If I am karma, then let me be the karma that she deserves. If she truly, blah, 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 I love you more than anything in this world. I've always loved you more than anything in this world, which is bullshit, obviously, because where the fuck were you? Where the fuck were you if you loved me more than anything else in this world? Why the fuck didn't you show me? Why didn't you do that when I needed you to? And the fact that you say, blah, 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 excuses, I wasn't the same person then, blah, blah, blah. Well, then why did you do it to my nephew? Because you're obviously the same fucking person today than you were then. So why the fuck did you? Why'd you do it? Where do you get off on doing this shit? What kind of person does that? And in case you're still here lurking somewhere, you don't deserve it. You don't deserve anything good in your life. And I hope you never get anything good in your life. I hope you don't. And I'm sorry if that makes me a shitty person, then so be it. I don't care anymore. I don't care. I am so fucking nice to just about everybody else in my life. Even when I'm an asshole, I'm still pretty nice. I know I'm a fucking asshole, but I'm still pretty nice to most everybody in my life that I see regularly, until they give me a reason not to be. But I'm not one that, I'm a fucking elephant never forgets. I don't forget anything. I remember everything, and I cannot. And you know, I might hold a grudge for a while, but if I hold a grudge for a while, the person that I hold it on deserves it. So all of this negative shit that I've said, when I was a kid, I was so bad. I was such a bad kid. I hung out with shitty people. My friends were just bad kids. Like they were the kind of kids when I was young that we would just try to we would steal cans of hairspray and lighters and try to burn each other and shit. And I almost burnt my room down when I was a kid, setting cologne on fire, Brute cologne. My room smelled like fucking smoke, fire, and Brute for a while when I was a kid. And I was just such a shithead. I used to try to I would hit my sisters, and I would hit my stepmom's kids, and just be a bad kid, and just a fucking horrible situation when I was a very young child, involving my oldest little sister and a friend of ours that lived next door that I can't even bear to think about anymore because it was so horrible. And I was a young kid. I was probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 or 6, and just negative shit happening, and just I put my stepmom through a lot of fucking heartache and negativity over my life, but she never stopped loving me through all of that. Out of all of the negative shit that I inherited from my mom, that I put my stepmom through, she forgave me of all of that shit that I did. And and I was just a bad kid. I was mean, and we were we clashed all the time, me and my stepmom, just because I was a bad kid and I didn't try to fix that. But she literally loved me through all of that. And because of her, I know what a mom is supposed to be. Welcome back, Liz. I know what a mom is supposed to be now. I did not know for a very long time. Now, granted, my Aunt Marie and my granny, who were basically that they filled that role for a mom in my life. Whenever my mom didn't want to do it. So I had been shown so many times what a real mom was, but I was too blind to see it because I had my actual mom still blinding me. Still blinding me, like, because I wouldn't plug anybody else into her. I didn't want to plug anybody else into that position because there was negativity tied to it. There was negativity tied to her title, to the title of mom, and I didn't want to tie anybody else to it. But I finally removed that negativity from the title and allowed myself to plug somebody else into it, into my mind. And once I realized that, I was at church one time. We were talking about things, and I know my stepmom had recently started going to church and started getting her life together. She had just recently started going to church, and we were at Smyrna, which was our church's sister church. Our pastor preached sermons at both of those churches, and she had, I don't know what it was specifically, but we were talking about things and how anybody want to say anything about any of these people who were celebrating today, and my stepmom was one of those people. And I started crying, describing like that I was just so mean to her, but she was so good to me, and that I hated her for a long time because I was just a bad kid and I was just a piece of shit child, and how now that I loved her and I was just so glad that she was part of mine and my dad's life. And I even wrote the song that I wrote, which I'll play for you guys here in a little bit. I wrote a line in it about, actually I'll go through all the lyrics of this song. So the song is called My King's Wisdom. I grew up in church, and I've read the Bible, and I'm very, very very religious. I try not to I don't go out into the world and like, oh, God's good today. You know, I'm not one of those kind of people. I just, I have my own way. I love the story of the prodigal son, where a king has two sons, two princes, and one of the princes is a good son, and he helps his father, and he works the land, and the other son is just a promiscuous kid. He wants to go out and party and hook up and do all of these things. So one son says, the bad son says, I want my money now. I want my inheritance. I want to take my money. I want to go out into the world, and I want to live. And against his father, the king's wishes, he takes all of his inheritance and he goes out into the world, and he lives his life, and he blows all of his money and ends up being broke. He ends up sleeping with the hogs in another man's, on another man's farm. He ends up literally having to sleep in a hog pen and try to eat the slop that they bring to the hogs. And after a while, he ends up returning home. And after he realizes, he's done wrong, he had to go out into the world and realize that he had done wrong before he could come back into his own kingdom, basically. So when the king saw that his son was returning, he came home, and grabbed up his son, was so glad that he was there. He said, go out and bring robes, bring rings to put on his fingers, robes to put on his back. Go slaughter the fattened calf, because we're going to have a feast. And the other brother, who stayed the entire time and helped his father, the king, the other prince, said, why do you have this party for him? He says, I have been here with you the entire time. You've never had this kind of a party for me. You've never thrown this kind of a feast for me. You only do this to this son, my brother, who is gone and done all of these horrible things in his life. And he says to the good son, he says, all of this has always been yours. You have had your reward the entire time. He said, we have this feast for your brother because he was lost and now he is found. And that story of the prodigal son resonated with me because I was the bad son for my dad. I was the bad son. I was the bad prince. I left. I wanted to go live with my mom when I was 10 years old. And then my dad, who was the one who oversaw all of the money that I had given to my mom, my dad oversaw that account. He was I don't know what the technical term is for it, but he was the one who built all of that money up that I had to give away to my mom and my stepdad. He is the one that did all of that. So I took all of my money and I went out into the world and I blew it all. And I was that, and I realized that I was that. But it was, and I appreciate you saying that, Abby. Not to tell myself that, but I had to tell myself that to realize that I had fucked up. I had done a wrong. It's like my dad has this thing. He says that other than Jesus, pain is the greatest gift that God ever gave man. For the same thing as that when you grab a hot coffee cup, pain is the thing that tells you to let that go or you're going to burn your hand worse. And like that pain that I felt from realizing that I had done that I was the bad son for a while, made me realize that another thing that I did, and I never really, I don't know that I ever formally apologized to my dad for this, but my best friend who's in the band with me, brother Adam, and it was his birthday as my dad's birthday, and my dad called me one time on Adam's birthday, which is his birthday, and he was like, what you doing, man? I was like, oh man, we're getting on a boat with Adam, going out to hang out. It's his birthday. We're going out and hang out, and I just totally didn't even realize that it was my dad's birthday. Like I was just drunk and not even thinking that, oh shit, it was my dad's birthday. And I know that had to hurt his feelings a lot, but I kind of fucked up a lot on that. So a couple years later, I couldn't really think of a way to apologize to him for having done that, like just being a bad son, because I was, and I'm not saying that I am anymore. I mean, I'm not the greatest thing in the world, and I never really go home or anything like that. But in my defense, I never go anywhere. But I wrote a song for him around the prodigal son analogy, and the song goes, everyone would listen when the king spoke, like candlelight I'd glow around his words. Those stories that he'd told by now 1,000 times still sent my mind off fluttering like a bird. The foot of his throne to me was a classroom, and if I didn't learn it, damn sure ain't his fault. But I'm hearing those same words now falling out my mouth, spreading my king's wisdom like a good prince ought. Well, the fattened calf's still living, but the kingdom all should know that when the trumpet sounds from glory, I'll be on the side with hope. When I finally meet my maker after all that we've been through, I'll thank him both for Jesus and a king like you. And then I go on to say, the kingdom took a heavy blow right after I was born, for within our walls the evil queen conspired. She fancied how she'd fare outside our castle, and a yearn to hurt good people she had acquired. The weight upon her head, it proved too heavy, and she didn't leave much honor on that crown. But before too long, our good king found another, and to this day she wears our last name proud. So I try to give a nod to my stepmom for stepping in after my mom, and I've always been very much into like Disney movies and like princes and kings and all of this stuff, like just being a prince and thinking, plugging my dad in is like, he's the king, I'm the prince, and just the analogy of having a royal family, and then my mom being the evil queen, my actual mom being the evil queen, but then my stepmom coming along and picking up the crown that my mom had defiled and wearing it, proudly and wearing it the right way. So the last verse is, so I guess in my mind we're a royal family, and I also guess some fairy tales come true, and I struggled far too long with what I was lacking that I almost forgot I still was part of you. And they say a prince reflects upon his kingdom, and I've lived through times where I hate that was true, but I've done my best to be someone that I'm proud of. But a prince should also make his king proud too. And I wrote this song for my stepdad on Father's Day a couple years after I had forgotten his birthday. And not only had I forgotten his birthday, but I forgot it and went to hang out with somebody else on his birthday. And I just felt like shit that I had done that. And because my dad didn't deserve that. My dad was a good dude. My dad's the greatest dude ever. And thank you so much, Abby. And I try to write to the way that almost Shakespearean, like I just really like the way that Shakespeare put words together, and just how he used and like the way that some of the words that are used in like the King James Bible, the way that they described things, and just the way that they would say things backward, like I really don't know what I'm trying to describe, but just I really like the way that those words came together, and I wrote that song around that style of playing. But and I'll play that song in a minute, but I basically just told you guys the lyrics so that I could say that my mom really screwed up a lot of shit, and my stepmom my mom ripped down a lot of shit that my stepmom put back together. And that's good, Abby. I definitely wanted to try to accomplish that. I'm glad that it can be applied to many different relationships. But my stepmom did the right thing in a world full of everybody who I had put in that position that had done the wrong thing. And by everybody, I mean my actual mom. Like, everybody else did the right thing. I just couldn't see it. And she did that. So I probably should have said this at the very beginning, and I might have. I just can't remember. We've been going for an hour and a half now. So I might have said this in the beginning, but if I didn't, don't feel bad for me. Don't pity me at all for any of this stuff that I've said. I only say this stuff to describe, to explain why I speak negatively about my mom for all year long. And I do that. I do speak negatively about my mom a lot, but she deserves it. And now you guys know that. Now you guys know that she did deserve it, because she did. And she still does. So there's that. But fortunately, because my stepmom did such a good job becoming that mother figure in my life, and being a great mother to her 3 daughters, my 3 baby sisters, she has shown them how to be a good mother. And my oldest baby sister, Kayla, has just recently become a mother over the last few months, and this is her first Mother's Day, so I'm very, very proud, and with a shaky voice tell her Happy Mother's Day, and that I love her so much, and she's doing such a good job. I love you, Kayla. You're doing so good, And happy Mother's Day to you. To you and Kathy, my stepmom. Happy Mother's Day to you. And she's done such a good job being that person that my youngest baby sister Shelby watches my cousin Matt's 2 girls, and she babysits them because he works so hard to give them a good life, and she does a very good job at taking care of them. That she is actually being so. She is my baby sister Shelby, who is 9 years younger than me. What's that make her? I'm 32. She's 9 years younger than me. And she is already being more of a mother to her cousins than my mom was to me. And I'm so proud that is probably the best compliment that I could give my stepmom, is that she has set such a fine example for my baby sisters that they are doing these things that my one baby sister is doing something that isn't even her full responsibility, but she is doing such a good job of taking care of these kids. But out of my stepmom's, oh no, sorry. She is doing such a good job at taking my stepmom's lead and being a good caretaker for these girls. And she's doing a great job, and I'm very proud of her too. So happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there who have been given this great opportunity to affect someone's life in a positive way and have done that. But I'm not going to say happy Mother's Day to all mothers out there, because some of you don't deserve it. And absolutely, Liz, you are fucking awesome, and it is her loss. It does take time for that not to hurt anymore. And you know, it doesn't really hurt me anymore. I just don't like the thought. The reason that I do this episode is because so many people are like, man, you should really just give that. You should really just, get over all that shit. And I mean, Smitty in the band, he's told me several times before, like, dude, you should really just let all that shit go and forgive your mom for all that shit, because you'll regret it one day. And I'm like, I don't fucking give a fuck. I'm not gonna regret it one day, but trust me on that. But and I just wanted to say these things because people always like to plug their personal situation into my life, and me saying that these things about my mom, they think, well, I could never think that or say that about my mom, so he shouldn't either. But it's not, my situation is different. My situation is a lot fucking different. And I just, it really is a lot different. Now, that's the only reason why I wanted to explain this stuff in full detail, so that people will understand why I say those things, and to encourage them to not ask me not to. Please don't ask me not to say these things, or to think differently, because I simply can't do that. I can't do that. So, happy Mother's Day out there to the ones that are doing it the right way. And for those that are doing it the wrong way, you probably know who you are. And to my mom, the real mom, the one that was in the chat earlier today, don't try to contact me again. Don't try to message me. Don't try to be around me. I don't want you in my life anymore. You don't deserve to be a part of my life anymore. Please don't ever try to contact me again. I don't know another way to say this, but I just don't want you to be a part of my life or this world anymore. And forgive me for that, for the rest of y'all, but I will not ask your forgiveness for this, because you don't deserve it. So yeah, you don't deserve this world. This world is not for people like you. So, anyway, I'm going to play that song that I was talking about with my Frankenstein guitar with mismatched strings on it. This song is called My King's Wisdom. And thank you guys for not judging me on that. I really appreciate it, and that's the main reason I wanted to do this, is just so that if somebody's gonna be judging me, I don't want them to judge me over this, because I don't mind being judged, but just don't judge me over this thing, because I realize that a lot of other people do not have this experience in their lives, and that I am different. So, and you have a good day too, Liz, and happy Mother's Day to y'all. I truly do love y'all to death, and I'm so glad that I have y'all to talk to here. Everyone would listen when the king spoke. Like candlelight, I'd glow around his words. Oh, hold on. I was in the wrong. I had it tuned down. Everyone would listen when the king spoke. Like candlelight, I'd glow around his words. Stories that he'd told by now 1,000 times still sent my mind all fluttering like a bird. The foot of his throne to me was a classroom, and if I didn't learn it, damn sure ain't his fault. But I'm hearing those same words now falling out my mouth, spreading my king's wisdom like a good prince ought. Well, the fattened calf's still living, but my kingdom all should know. When the trumpet sounds from glory, I'll be on the side with hope. When I finally meet my maker after all that we've been through, I will thank him both for Jesus and a king like you. Thank him both for Jesus and a king like you. Well, my kingdom took a heavy blow right after I was born. For within our walls the evil queen conspired. She fancied how she'd fare outside our castle, and I yearned to hurt good people she'd acquired. Well, the weight upon her head, it proved too heavy, and she didn't leave much honor on that crown. But before too long our good king found another, and to this day she makes our last name proud. Well, the fattened calf's still living, but my kingdom all should know. When the trumpet sounds from glory, I'll be on the side with hope. When I finally meet my maker after all that we've been through, I'm gonna thank him both for Jesus and a king like you. Thank him both for Jesus and a king like you. So I guess in my mind we're a royal family, and I also guess some fairy tales come true. I struggled far too long with what I am liking, almost forgot I still was part of you. Well, they say a prince reflects upon his kingdom, and I lived through times I hated that was true. But I done my best to be someone I'm proud of. But a prince should also make his king proud too. Well, the fattened calf's still living, but my kingdom all should know. When the trumpet sounds from glory, I'll be on the side with hope. When I finally meet my maker after all that we've been through, I'm gonna thank him both for Jesus and a king like you. Thank him both for Jesus and a king like you. Thank him both for Jesus and a king like you. Thank him both for Jesus and a king like you. I realize it's a song about my dad on Mother's Day, but you get why I had to do it. Guys, happy Mother's Day to you. I really appreciate y'all hanging out with me today. I wish you all a happy Mother's Day here in the chat and anybody who hears it in the future, except for one. I wish happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there doing it the right way. One specifically does not get it, and you know who you are. And there's a few more out there. There's a few more out there in the world that doesn't deserve it. So, yeah, you all know who you are. If you think that like for instance, if you neglected the children that you have birthed and have gone on to just live your life outside of them, then you're probably not doing it the right way. And you even if you're doing it like, oh, they'll have a better life without me, then you should change who you are to give them a better life, right? You guys agree with it? You guys agree with me on that? Love you back, Abby. Thank y'all so much. Have a good day. But do you guys agree with me on that? That if you're the kind of person who thinks that a child will have a better life with living with another family, then I feel like then is the time to take the responsibility to change who you are as a person to be the kind of person that this child needs in their lives. So there's that. Happy Mother's Day to you. I hope you all have a good day. I love you. I mean it, except for one. I'll always say that. I'll always say that, except for one, and you know who the fuck you are, you old bitch. Sorry, I reserve those words for only one person. You know who you are. All right, YouTubers, hang tight for just a little bit. I'm gonna do an outro here, and then I'm gonna do an intro here for the audio folks. So hang tight for a minute, YouTubers. All right, so. Sorry, I told you that one was going to be a doozy, and I also was going to have guests for this one, but the guests are going to be coming tomorrow. I'm going to keep it a secret, though, because I don't want to say the name because it's sort of a well-known person, and if they can't make it, I don't want to have let anybody down. So we're going to potentially be doing another episode tomorrow with a couple of guests, so I'll keep you guys updated on that as we go. But please go to the Facebook page. Please go to MI Stuff Podcast at MI Stuff Podcast 1 on Twitter. Facebook page, MI Stuff Podcast. Instagram at MI Stuff Podcast. Also my personal one at Yonder Wizard, WIZZERD on Instagram if you guys want to follow me, and Kelsey Hudgens on Facebook, the one with the clown face. Also, please go to the YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed to us on YouTube, please do that. I'm trying desperately to get to 1,000 subscribers so that I can start going live on mobile again, so that if I have anything random I want to talk about when I'm away from here, I can do that. And that happens more often than not. I didn't realize how much I like going live on mobile until I wasn't able to anymore. So, share the page, tweet it out, share the YouTube page, help me get up to 1,000 subscribers. And if anything that anything if you guys want to help out, if you guys enjoy the podcast at all and enjoy the content that I'm bringing to you, I invite you to please go to paypal.me/Kelsey Hudgens. Drop us a tip in the tip jar. Help us out a little bit. We're coming up on the next month of Podomatic Premium, so we'll have to be getting that $50 to them so that we can continue to upload the podcast. If you guys enjoy the content, Please help us out there if you can. Not necessary, but just if you can and you want to, then by all means, that's where you can do that. Also, the GoFundMe is somewhere. There's all links to everything in my SoundCloud and MIStuffPodcast.com. The SoundCloud.com/Kelsey Hudgens, Kelsey-Hudgens. And for SoundCloud, all the songs that I've written are there. Most of the songs that I've written are there. I've still got a few that I need to upload, but I'm waiting to get a decent recording of them before I do that. So do that. Like those pages. Share the pages. That's it. Be a good person. In a world full of shitty people, don't be one of those people. Be a good person. I love you. I mean it. Peace, bitches. All right, YouTubers, let's do this intro thing. Hang tight for a second. Hey, guys, how you living? You doing well? Good. Glad to hear that. So I'm going to go ahead and warn you in this one. I say a lot of really negative things about my mother, my birth mother. And at some point during this, in the beginning, my mother actually shows up in the YouTube chat. And I start talking directly to her for a second, so forgive me for all the things that I say to her. I know it's going to be some startling things in here, but I'll feel foolish to let you guys go any further than this without saying I love my stepmom, and she is absolutely the best woman that's alive right now that I know, and she did a very, very good job to show me what a mother should be, and I do not ever want anybody to confuse my stepmom, Kathy, with the woman that I'm talking about in this podcast, because she does not deserve to have anybody say anything like that about her. All of that negativity is reserved for my birth mother, who I'm going to be talking about in this podcast, and I did this one last year too, but I think I went a little bit more in depth. And obviously my mom showed up in the fucking chat, so you guys get to hear me hear exactly how I feel about her, and hopefully she got to hear it too, because I want her to know. I need her to know how I feel about this. So anyway, anything else in the content that I need to go over before we do pages? Let's see. Yeah, and I did pretty good. I was chatting back and forth with Liz and Abby in the chat, and they were very good. My very good friends in the YouTube chat, they were actually very supportive of me. The mods were very good about like keeping my mom quiet in the chat, and then I muted her completely, I think. But yeah, I hope she saw this whole thing though. I hope she heard every fucking word I said, and I hope she knows exactly how I feel still. And then I hope she still knows. So there's that. Please go to so yeah, sponsored by Screwball Whiskey Studios. Oh yeah, by the way, live from Screwball Whiskey Studios, SKREW Ball Whiskey, Screwball Whiskey with a K, SKREW. Go to screwballwhiskey.com and get your peanut butter whiskey. It's peanut butter flavored whiskey. It is delicious, so I am told. Right here, Screwball Whiskey. You can find it. Tomorrow's stories begin right here. It is delicious, I've been told. I have obviously not. This stuff was invented after I already quit drinking, so I've yet to taste it. Obviously, maybe one day I will. One day when I get to the point where I feel like I could take a sip of it and maybe not turn into an alcoholic again. So maybe. Screwballwhiskey.com. Get your peanut butter whiskey. Also, please go to the Facebook page at MI Stuff Podcast. At MI Stuff Podcast on Instagram. At MI Stuff Podcast, the number 1 on Twitter. And mistuffpodcast.com, where the blog is. I'll probably be doing a pretty extensive blog entry tonight if I get around to it. Maybe not. Also, the most recent YouTube videos are posted there. Everything that I've just described to you, all of the links to all the pages that I've been telling you about are all there on mistuffpodcast.com. Please do that. Please go there. Please go to the YouTube page, Kelsey Hudgens on YouTube, KelseyHudgins on YouTube, and click subscribe. I'm running into my content. Sorry to cut it short, but episode number 133. Enjoy, motherfuckers. Yeah, sorry, I had to cut that short a little bit, but I was running into my content, so there's that. All right, guys. I love you. I mean it. Have a good Mother's Day to those mothers out there doing things the right way, all except for my very own. Do not wish you a happy Mother's Day. I want to be very clear about that if I have not been yet. Oh, man. All right. I'm going to get out of here. Usually I'll sit around and like smoke weed and watch Netflix or YouTube or something like that, or the Braves who are playing right now. Before I do the podcast, and I'll be like in a lethargic state. But I wanted to go ahead and get this episode out while my brain was still fresh from sleep. So yeah, there's that. All right, guys, be good people. Be good people in a world full of shitty people. Don't be one of those people. Be a good person. Be a good person. Don't be one of those shitty people. Go out into the world and be nice to people. If they don't deserve it, give them the benefit of the doubt. Give them the opportunity to change who they are, change their lives. Do that. And then if they screw up again, then fuck them. Fool me once, right? Fool me once. Go to screwballwhiskey.com, SKREW, screwball whiskey with a K.com. Get you some screwball whiskey, peanut butter whiskey. Brother Kerry is very involved in that company. Do that, as we are live from the Screwball Whiskey Studios. And click the link in the middle of the page. Click subscribe. Click the link, the videos in the corners of the page for some extra content. Be good people. I love you. I mean it. Peace, bitches.